Well, it's not surprising, really, is it? The team that went 68-14, the team that wire to wire had the best record in the NBA, one of the best teams ever assembled, top five all time in terms of record, wins, whatever you want to call it. Oklahoma City gets the job done. 103-91, winning game 7, the first championship. Keep in mind that this is not just for, Oklahoma City. This is for the entire state of Oklahoma. Never a professional championship before. We'll get into the game a little bit here, but Tyler, I want to start with you. You're the main Thunder fan among us here. You've been the day one fan. You've been telling me about the legends of Nazir Muhammad and a bunch of other guys. Put this into perspective. Yeah, put this into perspective for me, Tyler. What does this mean for you specifically?
Oh man, I mean, so and I've seen a lot of people talk about this, share this experience online, and I'm right in that vein. Like to watch those early days, how bad the team was. You just got this young player, Kevin Durant, and then soon you had Westbrook and Harden go with it, and you saw what could be with that group, but it slowly fell apart. Right, first couldn't get a deal done with Harden, you trade him. Okay, you got Russ, KD. KD wins an MVP, you're thinking, oh, we finally got the pieces assembled. You get Nick Collison, Serge Ibaka, Steven Adams, Andre Roberson, Thabo Cephalosha. I mean, I go on and on about the different role players where you thought, okay, this is it. And you get to that point where you have the Golden State Warriors on the ropes, 3-1. You choke that series. You watch that blow up. Kevin Durant moves on. You're thinking, we missed our window. And then you get to the point where, you realize, okay, gotta trade away Westbrook because we gotta rebuild. That was tough. And to go through those seasons, and it wasn't very long because Sam Presti's a genius. Let me start there. Where we're tanking, everybody's calling us the black eye of the league, despite not being technically the worst team in the league. But you're getting all that hate, right? And everybody's, oh, they blew their chance and never won a title. And to watch this thing rebuild itself, Sam Presti put the people in place, literal homegrown guys. And I know SGA was in a trade, right? So the biggest piece is not necessarily homegrown, but the rest of those guys around that, you get Jalen Williams, J Dub in there. I mean, all the role players involved. And then you find those extra little pieces, the Alex Caruso, the Isaiah Hardensteins, and Mark Dagnall. I mean, he was coaching in the G League, and you find him, bring him up, promote him, and he's the guy that helps take you there. What a moment! I mean, to see that all come together, we're spoiled, honestly, because usually franchises don't get to achieve this type of expectation this early, and to have the, pressure, I guess you could say, the privilege of that to achieve at this level so early in their history. But man, what a feeling. I didn't think if you would have told me when we traded for SGA that this was the future, but I am so glad it turned out this way. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those where this is a game that we'll get into in a moment. If you're still listening or watching this is going to be one of those weird kind of meandering videos. We'll go from place to place. This is what happens when you win a title, though. There's no real time. We'll get to the game in a minute, but this is going to be one of those free form type of deals. There's one story I want to get out of the way real quick because I'm a Dallas fan. That's made perfectly clear if you watch this channel. I am coping and seething in real time. But I remember going to a Thunder game that I was invited to in 2022. It was Oklahoma City versus Phoenix. And I remember one of my friends actually was, we were going down there for an event, driving through. We had a snowstorm the day before and all that. The event we were at got canceled. We still had tickets to the game. And he said, hey, I know Barry Trammell. Do you want to go meet him? So we sat down, had lunch, and did. And I remember him telling me, this Gilgeous-Alexander guy is going to be him. We all believe he's going to be the guy. Just watching him the few years he's been here, even though Oklahoma City at that time was still a 20-win team. This is when everyone believed in Poku. If you remember that era of Oklahoma City for like 2 years, the Pokusevsky time, it was the peak of that. And I remember watching that game, sitting there and thinking, okay, I see what everyone is excited about the future being. And what happened the next year? They won 40 games, made the play. What happened after that? 58 wins, 1 seed in the West. You lose to Dallas in the second round, and that was the test run. That was a conversation we've had on this channel before. That was the test run. That was the experience to learn from it, and the expectation was to get here. And sure enough, they got here. and they took the job. They took care of business. I do want to also mention, because it deserves to be mentioned as well, Tyrese Halliburton, what happened today,
Oh, oh,
absolutely horrendous. You never wish that on anyone. Absolutely heartbroken for him. And I'm heartbroken for Indiana fans as well, because they're the same way. This is a franchise since the 70s that the 3 ABA titles, that this is the best team they have ever put together. This is the greatest run they've had. You come out and Halliburton plays so well in those first 6 minutes, and then you just see the Achilles. You see it happen. He's down in
yeah.
pain, and you just know, you knew the game wasn't over because Indiana's built to hang around. But as the game, we'll get into it, as the third quarter really got going, you just start to think, man, what happens if he's healthy? What kind of game do we have if he's healthy right now?
Yeah. No, that's a fair question. I gotta say, as a Thunder fan, I respect the hell out of Indiana. I mean, with what they did in this postseason, you can say what you want about, the teams that they faced in the East, this, that, but those guys, that collection of players, man, had a good mix of vets. You look at Pascal Siakam, who's been there and done that in terms of winning a title. You get some of those younger guys, Nembhard, D. Smith, like it was impressive to watch them continue to. I mean, and Cade, we talked about it going into this game seven, where I was like, man, OKC better come out strong because Indiana is. They aren't afraid of anything. I mean, I was thoroughly impressed by that collection of guys. I feel horrible for Tyrese Halliburton. Hope he recovers well. And, like I say, you never want to win that way, but fortunately, that's just how it went down. But no, massive respect what Indiana did this season.
Absolutely.
Hey, you have to respect everything they've done in terms of like you never can count them out. I mean, the countless
No,
amount of games they've gone down by double digits and have worked their way back into games. Now worked their way back into games, but stealing games, and yeah, just the path that they went through. So yeah, it's. I mean, it just shows you the players on that team too. I mean, guys like T.J. McConnell who just put it all out there, and that energy guy that really sparks the club.
Yeah, and I mean, this is one that we'll get into it here in a moment. I mean, 23 turnovers for Indiana in this game. That ties the Lakers from 1970 most turnovers ever in a game 7 of an NBA final. Indiana's able to win that rebounding battle again. They win the 3-point percentage 39-27. This is a game that Indiana was shooting 50% from 3 at halftime and just really could not find that rhythm at all in the second half. They win the field goal percentage battle by 1 point there, but that doesn't really mean a whole lot. When you turn the ball over 23 times, it's not your night. In Indiana, we talked about it. The whole story of the year has been their bench. And you watch Obi Toppin, who has been so good this series, 21 points, misses every shot, doesn't get a point, 3 turnovers, 2 rebounds. That's about it. TJ McConnell, yes, he went off again, but he had the 7 turnovers as well, having to play 28 minutes, a little bit more for his role. Benedict Mathurin got going eventually, had 24, but it took until that second half. Then really he had some stretches in there, a couple of turnovers, things like that. Pascal Siakam only got 1 shot the entire third quarter. I don't know what was up with Indiana with that. That happened multiple times this series. Finishes with 16. Nembhard, he did his best. Had 2 turnovers in there, but 15 points. Had a good night. One of the few good nights you'll see for Indiana. But just, it really all does hinge on, if you're Indiana, I felt like the entire formula, and Tyler, we kind of talked about this a little bit. If Indiana was going to pull this off, we talked about it after game 1, Indiana was going to have to win every game at home. And after that game 4, once you get to game 5 and Oklahoma City wins it, it started to feel like, you're not going to count Indiana out. That's stupid to do. They got here for a reason. But it kind of felt like, okay, that was the game. They had to win game 4. The kill shot was there and they couldn't get it done.
yeah, and the one thing, the scary part about this Thunder group, and Andrew, I don't know your kind of thoughts on this, is you being a Philly fan, obviously seeing the Eagles kind of go through their ups and downs, to ultimately claim the title again this year. Like this Thunder team felt like, and maybe even still, they've got to find that killer instinct. They you're right. Them winning into Indiana, going in back home to OKC, like that was huge. But even tonight, at times, finally in that third quarter, we saw a little bit of you get your turnovers, you get your steals, you get big buckets off that. But like this team has got to, and maybe they'll do it now since they won one finally. But it's like, will these guys figure out how to really step on the throat, so to speak, because you look at your great dynasties. The last one you could point to is Golden State. Steph Curry, when he decides, I'm taking over the game, he's taking over the game. LeBron throughout his career in his big moments, when he's decided, I'm taking over the game, the series, whatever, it's happening. And, Kevin Durant had a little bit of that with Golden State. Like, obviously, MJ is famous for it. Like, this team, that's the only thing that gets me sometimes. They're still so young. I mean, this is the second youngest team to ever win the title. 25 years old is the average, 25 and a quarter. So they could get better. That's scary.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think that's what you have when you have one of these building teams is like once they find that instinct to take it to the next level to realize, you know, you can't let teams back in and whatnot. That's when you know like that team gels together and like you said, you kind of saw that click toward the end, and this team can get better heading into the following season. And that's what you saw with I mean, to your point with the Eagles, that's what you saw as well. You saw the collapse the Eagles had just a year ago after starting 10-1, and then they kind of worked on that same thing, like worked on to your point, like turning it around, figuring out how to close seasons out, and you saw that gel together this past season, and then everyone saw what happened in the Super Bowl. So like to your point, it is about taking it into next gear, not letting your foot off the gas pedal, and that's what I mean. On top of winning a championship, that's what a team can learn for sure.
Yeah, and that's what stands out to me, and y'all both make great points about it because I'll ask you, Tyler, being the Thunder fan of the group here. SGA goes 8 for 27, J-Dub 7 for 20. There were times in this where OKC was definitely not on their A game for the majority of this. It felt like it was one of those. We said this in Game 5. It kind of felt like, especially there in that fourth quarter, where there was just no flow at all. Where it's okay if OKC wasn't up by 20, say this was 15 or 10. I feel like there'd be a little bit of worry, a little bit of, oh no, this is happening again. This is the third time this has happened now. What are we doing? But you have that 20-point lead. Indiana was able to cut it a bit, but it never really felt like Indiana had that firepower to get back in it this time. But still, seeing Mathurin able to just go right to the rim 3 or 4 possessions in a row and TJ McConnell doing in the third quarter, there's still way much room for improvement. There's still so much that the Thunder could do. And that is, for someone like me as a Mavs fan, that's very concerning.
Yeah, I will say though, SGA, I mean, first guy in NBA history in one season, MVP, All NBA first team, Western or Conference Finals MVP, and Finals MVP. And tonight, where he showed his leadership the most, I think you look at what he did away from his scoring: 12 assists to 1 turnover. That to me stood out the most because he realized, like, I've got to get my guys involved. Even if they're not having their night, we saw Chet finally have kind of that scoring and defensive effort you've been hoping. He has this postseason. J-Dub had his moments. Dort had that ridiculous rainbow 3. Like, and a lot of that circles around SGA deciding, hey, I'm going to get my guys going. And it was enough. It was enough.
It's one of those. The more I look at this, the more, I mean, I don't want to start the dynasty talk because I feel like you've got to win 2 before we really get there.
No. Yeah. No,
yeah,
no,
I don't want to be that guy. I know people are going to want to start doing that talk after tonight, but I feel like to have that proper conversation, you got to at least go back to back first. But it's just the more and more I look at this box score, it's just there are so many things that stick out to me that OKC could have done better. And that really is the scary part of this whole deal, where it's just so many times you just think of, this could have been a blowout. Given the circumstances, the Halliburton injury and everything, that you play by the hand you're given, this could have been really ugly. And it did get ugly for a while. Oklahoma City had that 21-point lead, but this was the first of many runs for OKC that I think we'll see. Some people I saw already trying to compare and do, they're going to do to basketball what the Chiefs are doing in the NFL. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. Basketball's a weird sport like that. But this is going to be an impressive Thunder team for years to come. Because remember, the way the contracts work, J-Dub and Chet wouldn't have any maxes to deal with until after 2027. We still have at least 2 more years of their normal contracts. And everything else is you pretty team friendly, if I remember correctly, looking at it earlier. Everything favors OKC is going to be a force for a while.
Oh yeah,
Plus,
no,
they have
they've
a
got
million
lined
draft
up.
picks too.
Yeah, got a million draft picks. By the way, since Miami made the playoffs, we get an extra first round this year. So,
Yeah, good.
but no,
That's what
I
y'all
want
needed was another draft pick. Add
to
your
pose this to
30
Andrew, and
plus.
I want to pose something to Andrew here. Looking forward, and I know this could be kind of its own video, and I'm sure we'll touch on it a little bit at the beginning of next season. But with now these injuries that have stacked up in the East, you look at Tatum, Halliburton, obviously Dame, and the ramifications of those. And Andrew, I asked you this because you're, obviously more of an Eastern Conference follower, have paid attention to that a bit more, being the 76ers fan you are. Like, is the East kind of right for the taking now? Is Cleveland like who's the heir apparent now? Who's going to challenge OKC in this Western Conference? That's where I'm kind of looking. Like, I'm curious going forward. That to me is more intriguing than the Thunder dynasty talk. Like, who's going to emerge as a serious contender in the East now?
Yeah, like you said, it's gonna be wide open now in the East. Tatum's gone, so obviously the Celtics are gonna be uh, not necessarily an easy matchup, an easier matchup than obviously with Tatum. Like you said, Lillard's gone now, Halliburton's gone. I would say, no, I've never been a full believer in that Cleveland team, if I'm being honest. And I think them getting upset early in the playoffs, you kind of saw that. I know they battled some other different injuries as well this season, especially in that playoff series. But I mean, I think you got to look at the New York Knicks. I think obviously they're always rumored for, who's going to potentially be added to that team. Obviously, you have Anthony Towns back, you have Jalen Brunson back. But I mean, I think I was saying this earlier tonight too, but I think you have to take a look at what the young Detroit Pistons did, and that
Mm,
fast up and
yeah.
coming team that got to the sixth spot. If they can have a really good offseason, there's no reason why they can't go out and take it next year in the Eastern Conference. Obviously, Kate Cunningham took that team to the next level this year. Tobias Harris is always a respectable role player. So again, that team, if they play the offseason correctly, I think they're a team that could come out of the East, and obviously I want to say the Sixers as well, but we all know their health concerns, and that's what's going to come down to with the Sixers as well. Is Embiid going to be on the floor more than he's off the floor, and that's
Yeah.
what will come down to the Sixers and obviously Paul George as well. So I think the dark horse outside of the obvious Cleveland and New York Knicks there that obviously did well this year. Look out for the Pistons.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I think that'll be fun. Orlando could be one of those teams. I mean, they did have the
Yep.
Desmond Bain trade. I want to see if they gave up too much or not. They'll be a kind of an injury team as well. We'll see how healthy they can stay. But that East is just going to be a complete chaos side when we get to the playoffs. I feel like next year that is going to be so much fun to see. In the West, I mean, Tyler, we kind of know where things are going to be in the West for a while. Even with Kevin Durant getting traded to the Rockets, I mean, there was an 18 win gap there between Houston and Oklahoma City. A 37-year-old Kevin Durant, I don't think is a plus 18 wins type of player. Not at his age now.
No, I tell you who you need to watch out for in the West. Seriously, it's going to be Denver because you got Nikola Jokic in his prime window right now, and if you're, a GM, the coach, like you've got to get everything in order to find him the extra pieces around him because you saw it in the series against Oklahoma City. Nikola Jokic, I know SGA is the MVP and all this, but Nikola Jokic is still the best player in the world right now as we speak. And so if you get him the proper help, I mean, that's why I'm not, jumping on the Thunder Dynasty talk because Denver's still there. Like Nikola Jokic is still doing his little turnaround fade, shot, and it falls, and he just kind of jogs his way back to the other side. Like that's not going away. So I think next year that's kind of where things are aligned. Then of course, the Lakers with Luka, we'll see what happens there. How LeBron, approaches things this offseason, that would be interesting. But yeah, I'm curious to see where that battle goes between Oklahoma City and Denver. That feels like the next great rivalry in the West, at least for a year or two.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. Or if the Lakers can actually invest in things like depth or a center. If they can do anything.
Like you're crazy.
No,
Silly.
no. Luka's going to have no center help for the next 5 years again. That's just how that's going to work. He already went through that once. He'll go through it again. But it's going to be an interesting time. I mean, the NBA is kind of, we said it earlier, it's the parity era. It is now 7 straight years now, starting with the Raptors in 2019, where a different team has won it. And it's crazy for as good of a finals as this was. And this is where I've got to rant a little bit. This is 7-game finals. We haven't had one of these in 9 years. We are in the era of parity And the amount of people, and I get this is social media, but this is how this happens. All I saw was don't care. We're not watching. No one wants to see. And yeah, do people want to get mad about SGA or Lou Dort or whatever? Yeah, I get that. But to try to act like this wasn't fun, or to act like, this whole postseason was garbage, or, it's bad because my team didn't win. Like, come on, guys. Only one team can win the freaking title. Like, that's how this works. I'm not gonna be mad that we had multiple 20-point comebacks across the entire playoffs, that we had a 7-game series, that we had beautiful basketball. I mean, we didn't have, some of your normal, there's some foul baiting here and there. That happens, unfortunately, that goes into the whole SGA narrative. But we had beautiful basketball. We had fun basketball and a series that wasn't just 5 games and you knew who was going to win it right out of the gate.
Yeah, but it's kind of interesting. I think, when you obviously Oklahoma being a big, more so college state. When you look at college sports, everybody wants the underdog, right? They want
Yes.
the parity. They want the great story, no matter the sport. We're seeing college basketball, we're seeing college football, where people want that parity. But yet in pro sports, I think people get more invested in saying, "Hey, I want to see history," right? So you think back to Golden State; they go
Yes.
through their little dynasty period. LeBron's career, people want to get invested in that. And hey, is he going to be truly up there with MJ as a GOAT status? You think the Jordan Bulls, like, if you're not a fan of that team, you just want to see history. I think that's kind of the contrast between pro sports and college at times.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that. It's one of those that I guess it's always bugged me, being kind of more of a college person first than a pro. Where it's
Yeah,
why do you want to see the same team win 5 times in a row? Unless it's your
because
own
you want to be
team.
able to complain about it or say I was there to see it.
I guess so. It's one of those just interesting times, but what a
People start
season.
liking players too more than teams.
Yes,
Yeah,
So
that
yes, they
too.
give us some players, absolutely.
Yeah, that too. And that's always the thing that I found interesting about the NBA specifically, because you see it in the NFL some, you see it, in baseball as well. You see it probably in hockey too, for the, million people that care about hockey, unfortunately. But it's one of those, it's always, I guess we'll add this on. I said this would be a rambly video. I've always found that weird to just like one specific player. Like, if you're going to like that player, I get that, but at least like the team that he's on as well. At least I've always
I mean,
found that weird.
okay, there was a time where I would have told you I would have followed Russell Westbrook to the ends of the earth. So I mean, I understand it to a degree.
Yeah.
Or Steven Adams. So
Yeah, or Steven Adams. There we go.
part of it for me, I feel like, is because um I don't know why, like for what the reason is, but you have more of who's the best player of all time talking the NBA. Like, obviously you always
yeah,
hear Ron versus Jordan, right? And obviously championships becomes a big part of that separation on who's the better player. You always get the breakdown of the eras. Then you get Kobe or LeBron. You always hear those arguments. It's not like you hear, like, right, who's the best baseball player of all time or who's the best football player of all time, right? It's usually maybe who's the best quarterback, who's the best starting pitcher, something like that. So I feel like you don't have as much I guess for the better lack of words, goat talk, compared to other sports. I feel like that's where the love of certain players has come into play in the NBA compared to other sports.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair point for it. It's always interesting having conversations and seeing it with people where it's like, oh yeah, I love Oklahoma City. It's like, you live in Virginia. How did that happen? Well, I watch KD and Russ. Those are my guys. It's like, you live in Virginia. You were born to be a depressed Hornets fan. I'm sorry, that's where you were from. Like, it's one of those, I always just, grew up with, these are the teams closest to me. I'm going to root for them because I'm closest to them. My dad did the same thing, so it's brought on to me. I just think that's how I was raised, so that's always how I'm going to think, I guess, is just how it is.
yeah. I mean, that's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair. It's the college way for sure.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing to add to Andrew's point a little bit, not only do you get to go talk more, but more so than any other sport, these are players that you get invested in high school, right? That culture isn't necessarily there with college football. You follow recruiting, but you don't really know about those guys typically till their juniors and seniors years. Heck, we've all seen, the mixtape videos of like next great eighth grader or whatever, and it's
Yeah.
like these guys get invested in terms of people rooting for them when they're kids still. that I think is uniquely different compared to baseball, football, hockey.
That's a good point. That's an excellent point.
Yeah, I'll say that's a pretty good point there. But I probably need to rein this in. I did not mean to go that off topic here for a finals video, but I think, unless either of you two have any other final points you want to touch on tonight, I think that is just about everything here. I mean, once again, Thunder, massive win, first title for the state, first professional sports title. Tyler, we were already talking about it. People are going crazy in the city right now, as I'm sure everyone will go crazy across the state. I mean, here in Alva, there were places shutting down early for people to go home, watch the game, unless you're a restaurant or something where we've got TVs, then come in and watch it type of deal. And, we live 2.5 hours away from the city, and everyone is, okay, if we don't need to be open, we're not going to be open. Let's go watch Game 7.
Yeah. No, the final point I want to add, for those people that are outside the state, maybe watching this video going, okay, why is this such really a big deal? It's just a championship. You can understand. Like, we're typically, and I heard Barry Trammell, you brought Barry Trammell earlier, he was at an event here in Woodward not too long ago talking about this. Traditionally it's always been OU versus OSU, that rivalry. And then you get the Thunder come along, and it's the first time where, as a state, we could really unite under one fandom, right? There's no split there. So we're wondering why this means so much to these people. That's what it is. We finally get to unite under one banner and say, hey, we're all Thunder fans. What an awesome moment.
Any other final thoughts from you, Andrew, or is it about time to wrap this thing up?
Congratulations to Oklahoma City Thunder and all their fans. I mean, it's obviously a great moment, and one of the best feelings, right, is to have a professional team win a sports championship. And I mean, it's nuts. It's a fun time, and yeah, just go out there, have fun, and obviously stay safe. Everyone's celebrating outside and everything, and it's never gonna end. The feeling that people feel tonight for that first one, and yeah, I mean, again, I don't know if they've announced the exact parade date. I haven't seen anything, but that's another
Tuesday,
fun
10:30.
time.
Yeah. So
Let's go out there and have fun at that too, because that's the extent of the championship, and that's really where, from my experience, you get to, get that collective final moment and like really wrap up with that team one last time, is that parade, because they're out there enjoying it with the fans from the coach's standpoint and the team standpoint. So yeah, just go out there and enjoy it, because there's not many moments better than these kind of moments.
Absolutely. But folks, that'll just about wrap everything up for today. If you've enjoyed the video so far, feel free, as always, if you've made it the whole 27 minutes, I hope you liked the video. Give us a like, subscribe to the channel as well, hit the notification bell to always be notified when new videos come out. Leave a comment down below. We're over 150 subscribers, slowly trying to get our way to 200. Any little bit helps. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. It takes only a minute of your day to like or subscribe or leave a comment, things like that. We sincerely do appreciate it. And for all the Thunder people watching this, I mean, enjoy the moment. You will now always have that story of following this team and what this means to you. And you can now, forever and ever, until the day you die, you can say, I know where I was on June 22nd, the night the Thunder won a title. Something that could never be taken away from you. So, folks, as always, until next time, have a good one, everybody.